Hello friends, Dr. Ken Bird here. What's the good news for today? The good news is that we are kept alive by the strength of what the Creator has done to set in motion our well-being. And there's nothing that can change that except ourselves not believing and upholding our end of the bargain. I found myself in a very interesting position recently, in fact just last night, and I want to tell you this story. And it made me think about the many ways that we are sustained even when we are not thinking about it, even when we're not aware of it, even when our minds is not thinking on the Creator's involvement in our lives through the divine sufficiency that is in all of us and around us. And the reason I want to tell this story is because I had a situation while returning from the center last night where I celebrated a moment with some friends, and I was asked to give transportation to two ladies, and I was on my way back, so I took a different route to get home in order to drop these two ladies off where they were going. And it was an interesting night with drizzling rain coming down. And at nights I find that with drizzling and wet roads, the scenery is compromised, so to speak, from what it would be in daylight. And so as I traveled along my path, lights glaring, the reflection of lights on the street caused me to misjudge the lane. And while I was supposed to be in the right part of the street as opposed to the left, with a median in the middle of the road, I found myself in oncoming traffic because I misjudged the distance of the road and the distortion of the thoroughfare because of the drizzling rain. And so in a quick moment, one of the ladies mentioned, "Aren't you supposed to be on that side?" And then I recollected myself, and the whole idea here now was to correct quickly. But the most amazing thing is that this took about a minute, well, let's say 45 seconds, if not more, and I had to get over the median in order to get back on my side of the road. And this is St. Petersburg. Streets are often quite busy. And it so happened that I had to employ quick thinking in order to correct my position on the road. And so I figured it out that I would find a way to swear back to the left and then turn my wheel and cross over the median to get back to my side of the road, or continue on that side with my hazard lights on, flashing in oncoming traffic, and get back when I could find an opening in the road that is on the level thoroughfare to do it. But my decision was to not stay on that side of the left side of the road any longer, but cross the median. And it's amazing that within that time period of making a quick decision and the 45 seconds to a minute that it took to cross over, there was no traffic coming towards me. There was no traffic coming towards me. And if there were, all I would hear is pop, 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 pop. That's what happens when you are on the wrong side of the street, especially since occasionally that happens in Florida, where people come down from the north and probably do not understand how the traffic works in the south. But the point I want to make is that I had two things to my advantages. I had two gifts to my, or talents, or interventions to my availability at my disposal. And the one was that I was able, as a skilled driver, to think quickly and get back on the other side of the road. And the second thing is that there was perhaps something miraculous about that event. There was perhaps something miraculous about that event. And I choose to look at it that way because I never want to ignore something supernatural when something supernatural occurs. You perhaps might want to think, why get into that? It's a simple mistake and you correct it. But I do not see everything in my life as just in the physical. I can see where there are things that are unexplainable. Why was there no traffic for that 45 seconds to a minute while I get over my blunder and correct it? And I'm reminded of a word, a text in the Word, Scriptures, that says, "He shall give his angels charge over you in all thy ways, lest at any time you jam your foot against a stone." And I thought of that text, and what it tells me is that there's always something to consider in the supernatural for what attends your life from day to day. And I want to also add that although I see the Bible as an anthology of different writers, although I consider some of the writers to be incorrect from Genesis to Revelation, I will not disregard that which is true. I will never disregard that which is true. And I want to be always alert to apply good things from the book, true things from the book, when the thing is proven true and not contradictory, and is really part of ways we can guide our lives in truth and be better people. So I wanted to add that story to my podcast today, and also mention another story that may bolster this point I'm making. And I want to include another story that, in my mind, has definite supernatural facts. Definite supernatural fact. And it's a story that is in the book Empowered by a Miracle. Empowered by a Miracle, that I wrote maybe 6 years ago or so, or more. And the essence of the story is that where there is a human need and a prayer of faith, it also involves the mystery of angels. with a timeline of supernatural speed. The mystery of angels, or the ministry of angels, with a timeline of supernatural speed. Now, a thinking scientific mind may scoff at the idea of angels, because most people I've never seen one. I myself have never seen one, of course, in the image of what is depicted in books, movies, or any scientific journal. But what I've also heard, I think I remember a movie called City of Angels, and these angels are people. And so, in many cases in our lives, we are likely to run into angels that look just like another person. In passing, you may see on the street. So here's this story that I want to include in this topic and in this broadcast. And it's in the book, and I'm going to read it for you. I love my Equinox. Equinox is a Chevrolet model for people who don't know. It was just the right image I wanted in a car. Medium-sized SUV, roomy to start with, and having adjustable rear passenger seating. The champagne exterior color extolled its luxuriant chrome trim and was a great choice for making both an impressive entry and a speedy departure. But I had a boyish proclivity about daredeviling my driving skills through narrow spaces. On this day, with sunset transforming to twilight, I misjudged the width of the challenge, and soon I heard the scratchy and abrasive sound of my left fender being defaced by a pole too close to complete the maneuver. I hated that sound. I hated it. I held the brakes quickly and got out to assess the damage. It was an ego-bending dent and scratch. Tediously, I backed out of the space with tongue lashing, scolding, and self-loathing for being so stupid. I had auto insurance coverage, and I knew making a claim would fix the vehicle. But it would not fix the disgust I felt for taking such a silly risk. I knew also that every time I would see the added increase on my insurance bill, it would remind me over and over again about my bluster of trying to be Evel Knievel. I'd made a wrong decision, and I was not ready to live with it. The trauma would haunt me into the next day, and for several more to come. And the only thing that helped to settle my mind was prayer. Everything else about that fateful day seemed so perfect and wonderful. Now I being so upset and humbled, I prayed, Lord, just make it like it never happened. I left it at that for the moment. But what kind of logistics would have to occur for my blunder to just go away? If I had the gift of time travel, I could go back in time and let my now sight be my foresight, and it would knock the silly out of me in a heartbeat. But life went on, and the days passed, with my mind teetering on the edge of letting bygones be bygones. And I was getting used to accepting my defaced fender. But on the 10th day, while traveling on 25th Avenue South and 5th Street South in St. Petersburg, Florida, something shocking happened. Just 2 car lengths to the Bulls stop sign for which I was halting my speed, the horror appeared. In plain sight on a clear day at this junction, teenagers were on the corner along with two boys, engaged in a scuffle. What I was most attentive to, however, was the black Lexus SUV making a left turn on 25th Avenue towards me, but not with any control of the vehicle to remain on the legal side of the street. Seeing the vehicle's neglect of control, I came to a complete stop. But the Lexus did not stop until it rammed into my left front fender with a bang. I was shocked. I was dumbfounded, horrified by the fact that the woman driver in the driver's seat didn't hold her brakes despite my bellowing horn. I could only shout something like, "What's wrong with you? Look what you did to my car." She got out of the vehicle penitent, realizing she was completely at fault. She said these words, "I got insurance. This is what we pay insurance for." I huffed a deep sigh. That statement could not find any rebuttal from my lips. I got out of the car, I got out of the Equinox and assessed the damage, and soon realized that this at-fault driver made a huge dent into the very spots about which I prayed. Lord, just make it like it never happened. It happened that my damaged fender was eventually fixed, painted and polished to look as good as new without any obligation on my part. There I was now with an inner exultation that my prayer was precisely answered. What would have happened if I did not seek a miracle and pray for one? Of course, the usual thing, I would fix the car. And why did I have the audacity to think that God, or the Creator, would want to involve himself in something as mundane as a ding and dent on my car? Why? I had the audacity because I had learned through other experiences of growing faith enough to understand my spiritual connection to miracles. That was the reason. And here I tell this story again. It's written here in my book, Empowered by a Miracle. And so I wanted to just add this story to my podcast today to show that despite what's going on in the world, you have an undaunting position of strength and power within your own surroundings. And you can always renew your strength and your empowerment, regardless of whether or not you belong to a religion, regardless of whether or not you're just an average person. Everyone has the power of the sufficiency in you. And if you don't have it yet, when you become aware that you have the sufficiency in you, you will begin to listen to the language of it. You will begin to listen to what's new to learn from it. Because within the sufficiency, as I've said before, is the teacher. And another true saying is this: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And again, I say it for repetition. The teacher is in you, and the teacher is outside of you. The teacher within you begins the awareness. And based upon what you have learned so far, it will begin to show you different aspects of your learning, different ramifications of it. And those things that are mysteries, remains a mystery in that beginning, you'll find that the teacher outside of you will come suddenly, at sometimes, somewhere, in a book, a movie, just any number of encounters will be the teacher speaking to you once you have that awareness. So I'm glad to be able to share with you today. And if you find these commentaries helpful, please remember to subscribe to my channel, like and share. And if you would like a copy of this book, it has about 5 stories of supernatural intervention in it from my own personal experience. I invite you to get a copy. I'm going to be putting a link on my page, and until then, you can find this book on Amazon. So have a great time this weekend, and I hope you are refreshed and ready tomorrow for a brand new week. Bye for now.